Word in Business. My name is Sara Adam. Later in the hour, we'll have a discussion that will focus on the export market. We'll be looking at the export market for flowers. We'll have that discussion later in the hour. But for now, let's take a look at what is making headlines in the world of business. National Treasury has floated a 60 billion infrastructure bond. Construction of the first multi-billion shilling geothermal power. And tea factories in K24 and Bomet counties and 15.85 billion. Now to a top business story of the hour. The National Treasury has floated a 60 billion infrastructure bond, the second such issued this year. The 60-year bond is intended to finance the national budget and will have a coupon determined by the market through the auction system. The bond interest will not attract tax amounting to 10%, normally charged on other issues. It will be redeemed in phases, with the first one scheduled for October 2030 and the second one set for October 2035, which is also the full maturity date of the issue. An investor is expected to put a minimum of 100,000, but with subsequent amounts in 50,000. The Central Bank of Kenya, which conducts the auction on behalf of the Treasury, is expected to exploit the high liquidity in the market that has seen on rates of Treasury trends bill go upwards. Moving on, Kenyans are inching closer to getting a relief of lower power bills as the construction of the first multi-billion shillings geothermal power generating plant at the Menengai crater floor in Nakuru commences in December this year. County Commissioner Erastus Mbui-Mwendwa says Kenya Electricity Transmission Company K24 and Geothermal Development Company have already constructed power transmission lines that will link the station to the national grid. Linda Koskei with this report.
Independent power producers have been cleared by the Geothermal Development Company and granted licenses by the state to start operations at the Menengai crater floor in Nakuru. Sosion Menengai, Quantum Power East Africa and All Power 22 are expected to set up power plants under a build-on-operate model, giving hope for cheap electrical power in the country. Each is expected to set up at least a 35 megawatts modular geothermal power plant in the Menengai crater field to generate a cumulative of 170 megawatts. County Commissioner Erastus Mbui-Mwendwa, who spoke when members of the Nakuru County Development Implementation Coordination Committee inspected the facility, however, conceded that the construction of the power plants was behind schedule as the project had been slated to kick off in January this year.
And the construction will take between 15 and 22 months, by which we are supposed to hand around 170 megawatts into the national grid.
General Manager Geothermal Development Resources at GDC, Cornel Ofuna, says the firm had commenced the second phase of the drilling wells at the Menengai crater floor, targeting an additional 60 megawatts.
So we have done the infrastructure, the roads, the water supply, the electricity, and the drilling of the 49 wells. And as has been said, we have realized steam of 170 megawatts, part of which is to be converted in the first phase of the project.
He says 85% of works on the 25-kilometer long pipeline, which is expected to carry around 170 megawatts of steam to be used by the power plants in producing electricity, is complete, and that the first phase has cost the taxpayers 70 billion shillings. Once complete, the Menengai geothermal station will produce enough electricity to serve almost 500,000 homesteads and 300,000 businesses. Linda Koskei, K24 Inside Business.
Now moving on, tea factories in K24 and Bomet counties earned a total of 15.85 billion shillings from the 69 million kilos made for tea sales from the year June 2019, out of which 10 billion will be paid out to the farmers as the initial and final payments. This comes in the wake of protests from tea farmers over lack of payments from their crop. Marcy Milanoy tells us more.
Tea farmers in Bomet County have earned a total revenue of 6.15 billion shillings from 42.68 million kilograms of tea. Out of this, the farmers have already received 3.04 billion shillings as initial payment, and the remaining 3.11 billion shillings will be paid at the end of the month. Tea farmers in K24 County have earned a total of 3.824 billion shillings this year from 26.65 million kilograms of tea. Farmers have already earned 1.86 billion as monthly initial payment, with the remaining 1.96 billion shillings to be paid out at the end of October 2019. According to KTDA, this performance has been realized at a time when most of tea-producing countries have registered increased production, while importing markets have experienced political and economical challenges. Global tea production stands at 5.8 billion kilos, while demand is at 5.6 billion kilos, resulting in a 200 million kilo surplus. Pakistan, Egypt, UK, UAE and Sudan remain Kenya's key export destinations for the Black CTC tea type processed in Kenya. These countries have had significant currency devaluation due to political, economical challenges, with Sudan, Pakistan, Egypt and UK registering 70%, 50%, 20% and 20% respectively. According to KTDA, the currency devaluation reduces the purchasing power of the consuming population. Resumption of economic sanctions by the United States of America on Iran cut off a substantial market for teas. Kenya is the leading exporter of Black CTC teas in the world, accounting for about 23% of the global exports, with KTD accounting for about 13%. Mercy Milanoi, K24 Inside Business.
From Mercy Milanoi's story, we are going to have a discussion back on export market. Now, Logistics Update Africa is hosting the 4th edition of Flower Logistics Africa on 23rd and 24th of October in a bid to create a global networking platform for regional and international services provider involving the cold chain, logistics and packaging solution. Kenya is the lead exporter of roses to the European Union with a market share of about 38%. The flower industry contributes 1.06% of Kenya's gross domestic product. Joining us to discuss this is Jacob Bwana, who is the commercial manager at KA. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. Now, let's just jump right to the event. What opportunities will it present?
Well, first I'd like to say the Flower Logistics Africa and Flower Perishable Logistics Africa is a platform that enhances collaborative actions between growers and the rest of the supply chain. It provides a forum and a platform where industry leaders alike in the supply chain of flowers and other perishable products comes together to look and give solutions to challenges that are along the supply chains, in particularly air freight. It's a platform where solutions are going to be looked into, new trends and challenges within the supply chain, is particularly in air freight, are going to be looked into, and it's a forum where collaborative measures to bridge in gaps between supply chain and logistics in the air freight landscape will be discussed. So it's a forum that is really key and important in enhancing our exports, especially for flowers and other perishables alike.
Okay, and what are the existing gaps, especially when it comes to these particular perishable goods?
Well, looking at it from the Kenyan front and actually even Africa-wide, there exists various gaps. And these gaps basically exist in terms of world standards that are required in perishable handling. Perishable handling basically requires two constants, time and temperature. And you know perishable goods are time sensitive and basically also temperature sensitive. There are certain global standards that are required for us now to move to the next level of our quality and sustainability in the business. IATA, for example, requires that right now we have centers of excellence in individual validators. Most of our handlers are still in the processes of trying to get into that level, which will enhance our quality and, of course, definitely bring the pricing level to standard that require. This also involves good distribution practices, which actually we are embarking on and encouraging all handlers and forwarders to embrace so that we can move the quality of our produce to the level that will fetch better prices for our producers.
Okay, and with the African continental free trade, how can exporters take advantage of this particular market to ensure that they actually are able to export enough, and so that they can get even higher returns and our GDP can grow?
Well, the African free trade area has got various aspects to look at before the air cargo can reap benefits from it. It forms a formidable market of over 1.2 billion consumers. We understand that the youth in Africa have got the highest growth rate, and at the same time, the ratification or the signing of this treaty still has got its own stumbling blocks, because we've got various microeconomic imbalances and issues between African states. If you look at how we trade and how we do our business, for example, many African countries do not at the moment trade with each other. It's easier for an African country to trade with a European country and actually reap benefits than from a country that lies next to it. The reason being majorly that we produce things that our neighbors do not really consume as imports. This brings a very low level of intra-African trade. If we are to improve and see the treaty and the world and the African trade area enhancing our exports, we have to look at certain issues that are necessary for that to make it possible for us to enhance our export. We need to have a proper trade policy. We need to have competition policies in place. We need to have proper rights looked into. And of course, we must have a proper manufacturing agenda so that we can trade among each other conclusively and have structures put in place for us to reap from that treaty.
All right, and you said we need proper structures so that we can be able to reap from this particular trade. And keeping in mind we have our small upcoming companies, startups, do you think with African free trade area, those particular companies will not be able to, there'll be high competition, meaning that they will not be able to reap as much from this particular trade?
Well, with the low intra-African trade still, we still have challenges because we are still yet to see a proper national air cargo policy that is going to enhance startups by our youth. If you look at that gap particularly, most of our universities and colleges are not churning out youth that are coming up to embrace air freight as a trade that they would like to get into. So that gives a gap whereby we are getting graduates that are coming into the industry majorly as operatives other than having the business acumen to take up this industry to the next level. So those are the gaps that probably needs to be filled in. Other than that, we have the bottom of the pyramid growers who do not actually have direct access to the markets because of middlemen who come and buy from them. We need to have our financial institutions coming forward to enhance what we call logistics finance, so that we can have things like LPO financing, so in order to enhance access to the market, and that will probably increase our export throughput by involving all stakeholders in the supply chains.
All right, and in terms of Kenya Airports Authority, what role is it playing in this particular summit?
Well, the reason why we are actually supporting this summit is because we are bringing stakeholders in a forum where they can have and share their issues and challenges, know the trends and know the gaps that exist in the market. With that knowledge, we are able now to look and fulfill our mandate of providing both soft and hard infrastructure to enable that the landscape is free and there's visibility in the supply chain. So that will enhance our throughput and actually put forward our role in terms of providing the facilities to facilitate infrastructure, processes and functions along the supply chain, which will now enable us to be not only a transit but also a transshipment point for all sorts of cargo, and enhancing our product mix that will indeed make us a continental hub and move us from being what we are currently is, which is a local market airport. So
okay.
that, yeah.
How can we tap on e-commerce? Because e-commerce is very big. How can we tap in it?
Well, tapping on e-commerce requires us basically to invest on the correct structures, functions, and processes. And I would say with the growth of African population, the youth are the drivers of the e-commerce itself, because the current technological landscape that allows you to trade and transact based on your Android gadget on your hand, it makes it easier for us to enhance that digitalization. And with that kind of platform, it's easier for us to enhance that by investing in the youth, and actually, like I mentioned earlier, trying to see startups taken up by the youth, and that will actually enhance the landscape that e-commerce currently requires.
Okay, and when you talk about bringing the youth on board and even the courses that are being offered, when you talk about aviation, it's quite expensive. Do you think the government can play a role in this to ensure that even when it comes to training these particular youths to take up these kinds of roles for them?
Well, the most important thing is look at our curriculum and see there's a diversification that appropriately targets aviation per se. Because what we are seeing currently is the youth or the population that is coming out of our universities come out as operatives, not with the real business acumen required to take up air freight as a challenge for them to invest in terms of business. Because the aviation courses are not as diversified as other courses. If we look at our agricultural institutions, Egerton University, JK we are seeing courses that probably are not really geared to supporting the aviation industry. If we could have, for example, an MBA course that comes out with MBA in horticulture, for example, that would be appropriate in the sense that being an agro-based economy, we should try and exploit the opportunities that lies in agriculture. After all, food security is an issue worldwide, and if we would invest in knowledge about how to take up such a challenge, we'd be getting more youth taking advantage and they may be getting into such exploitations.
Okay, and when you talk about exporting perishable goods, they're perishable. We've had even other countries putting out rules, China in specific, when we were trying to export our avocados, saying that there are some regulations they want our farmers or the traders involved in that particular trade to adhere to. But it seems that our farmers or the people operating, the traders operating in that particular business seem not to be knowledgeable enough. When it comes to sensitization in this particular market, do you think enough is being done?
Well, I think, I wouldn't say whether it's enough or not enough, but we still need a lot of campaign in terms of awareness of what opportunity lie in the market. Because I would say, for example, we are dominant in terms of exporting our perishables to the EU. And the Chinese actually put up a market that we should exploit majorly. Take, for example, if we were to exploit the Chinese market by probably introducing our French beans, a small part of China already is not enough for us to fulfill in terms of demand. So such aspects of marketing is what is required for us to exploit this kind of markets. So sensitization really is required, and then we shall see an increase in our throughput.
And this particular event, will it tackle some of the issues that we have mentioned from sensitization and from the part of creating awareness that is still sensitization and equipping these particular traders on skills on how they can actually go about in the export market?
Yes, definitely that's going to be, because it will be providing an interesting blend of industry leaders. Like I mentioned, it's a global networking platform that brings both regional and international stakeholders. And it encompasses all stakeholders in the air freight supply chain, from growers to producers, to forwarders, to ground handling agents, to logistics and packaging, and airlines and airports as well. So all these issues are going to be looked into, and it's a great thing that everybody should take advantage of and come and learn the trends, the challenges, and basically solving issues that are going to and actually are currently affecting the industry.
Thank you very much. We've been speaking to Jacob Bwana, who has been able to talk about the export market and also the forum that is set to take place on 24th and 23rd of October, which will target perishable goods. Now moving on, KCB Group has nearly eliminated the market capitalization gap between its rival Equity Group, as the latter loses its traditional large trading premium over the country's largest bank by asset. KCB on Wednesday closed trading with a market valuation of 133.6 billion, trailing Equity at 135.4 billion by just 1.8 billion, as the convergence in their paper value intensified. On April 8, 2018, Equity had a lead of 40 billion as its market capitalization stood at 205.6 billion compared to KCB's 165.5 billion. KCB gained has been linked to the bank's enhanced dividend payout and an increase in its issued shares by 142.9 million. Moving on, the business community in Kapenguria town, West Pokot County, are protesting over prolonged closure of Makutano Bus Park and Shopping Center. The traders who accused the county government for delaying to solve the stalemate said business people have been resorted to selling their commodities on verandas and other shops since their open markets have been affected by heavy rainfall.
The West Pokot County government closed down all operations at the Kapenguria market as well as bus stations to pave way for renovation. Residents now are faulting the county government over the delay, saying the area is reported to have been closed for almost a year now. Led by Matatu operator Abraham Lempak, business people and vehicle operators are suffering and counting huge losses since they have not been doing any businesses after the shops were closed.
Andrangi pekake tu nakafunga kila mali. Sasa tumeshindwa kwa nini sasa tumetuwekea nje. Jam meleta kwa shida kwa barabara. Sasa hiyo ndio malalamishi yetu tunalia tu. Hatufungulie kiwanja.
Kuna watu wanataka kuweka watu wao. Especially hizi manyumba watu wanataka kuweka watu wao kama watu wenye wanafanya kazi ya revenue, wenye walipewa sub county revenue, wanataka kuweka watu wao.
However, the county government dismissed claims that the government intends to allocate the spaces to new tenants. Speaking to K24 TV, Area Governor John Lanyangapuo said the county had renovated the buildings and business people will be required to reapply afresh. The park contains close to 100 stalls and it's the bus terminus that connects vehicles headed to Uganda, Lodwar, Nairobi, western part of Kenya and other parts of the country. Linda Koskei, K24. Business.
Now it's time to look at how the shares are performing at the Nairobi Securities Exchange. We want to take a look at the top gainers and top losers of the day. For our top gainers, we have Sasini as our top gainer, and the price share is 18.50 cents, and the percentage change is at 9.79%. Everready comes in second at 1 shilling as price share, and percentage change is at 4.17%. And Stanbil Fahari is at number 3, and the share price is at 8 shillings and 58 cents. And the percentage change is at 4.13%. Now the top losers of the day, we have Liberty Kenya. Price is at 9 shillings and 74 cents. That is the price share, and the percentage change is at negative 7.24%. BOC is at 54.25. That is the price share, and the percentage change is at 6.47%. And Longhorn Kenya is at 6.98, that is the price share, and the percentage change is at negative 5.68%. Those are the top gainers and top losers of the day. Now we want to look at how the shilling is performing against other major currencies. The Kenyan shilling has been at 103 for 3 months consecutively now. Now the US dollar is buying at 103.65 cents and selling at 103.85 cents. And the sterling pound is at 126.60 cents and selling at 126.88 cents. The euro is at 113.79 cents, buying and selling at 114.04 cents. And the rand is at 6 shillings and 82 cents, buying and selling at 6 shillings and 84 cents. The Tanzanian shillings is at 22 shillings and 8 cents, buying and selling at 22 shillings and 22 cents. And the Ugandan shillings is at 35 shillings and 52 cents, buying and selling at 35 shillings and 68 cents. Now, this is how the Forex report has been. We'll be looking at the dollar and other major currencies that have dominated the Forex for today. And that is how we wrap up Inside Business, the last word in business. My name is Sara. Up next is Newscut.